welcome back to Soaring Higher Rocks or Transformation Now. I'm Rita Rocker Craft, and I just welcome you today. We're going to finish what we started in the last program about triumphing through transitions that we all go through in life. From the time we're born, we go through transitions, and it can be tough a lot of times, but it can also establish new normals, new positions, new homes, new places, new adventures. And so when we lose something and we have something happen to us, we have to start a new normal. And that can be tough because maybe we want to go back to the old normal. We miss the person, we miss our hometown, we miss what is now not there any longer. And yet we have to look at it as this is a time to reestablish, to regroup, to restore, rebuild, and go forward. And it can be tough, but I know from all the experiences I've had personally, you can start over again and again and again if needed. You know, people say God gives us second chances. Well, he's given me about 1,000 right now, and I'm very grateful. So transitions are really tough, no matter what they are, but focus on the new you, the new situation, the new place, the new job, the new things that you want. And you know what? It doesn't cost a dime, not a dime, to sit there and really focus. You're going, well, how in the heck am I going to do that? I don't have the money. I don't have the education that these other people do. I don't have this. I understand. Trust me, I've been there. But when we focus on that, we start getting a mind change that attracts that and helps bring that in. And we no longer act defeated or feel defeated, because we visualize so much that it's literally become a part of us, inside of us. And so think of that. You know, and we were talking about body language last time, and how body language, which is 55% of our communication skills, can give an impression to people that we're angry, sad, hurt, scared, in control, confident. Our body language reflects so much about what's going on in our lives. Okay, so people pick up on that. 55% of our communication skills is nonverbal: how we sit, stand, walk, how we look, how we shake hands, what our eyes are doing, all of that, nonverbal. 38% is the quality of our voice, which is our expression, our pitch, and the tone of our voice. You ever had a parent or teacher say, well, I don't like your tone? Okay, because that really can say, you're happy, you're sad, you're angry. I used to say, you know, as an example, I would go up to someone and I'd say, okay, pretend that you did a great job on a report that you gave to your group at work. And I just walk by right quickly and I say, that was great. How would you feel? And the person would go, oh, I'd feel good. Then I would walk up to someone else and I would say, well, that was great. As an example, of course. And I said, well, how would you feel? Most of them said, well, I wouldn't feel very good. And so it was the same exact words. The only thing was how it was said. Okay, so again, your body language has the most power, and then the tone of your voice. Well, its studies have proven over and over that only 7% of the actual words used are going to be given out in the message. So people can tell by your body language if you're strong, if you're confident, if you're fearful, if you don't feel like you're worth anything. And so you want to change that body language. And like I said before, psychologists have proven that you can also reverse what is true by changing your posture, changing your attitude, changing your position. So maybe you're feeling very weak, ineffective, kind of like a big loser, and so you think, gosh, I've got to go into a job interview. What in the world am I going to do? You know, I've been walking around with my head down, all slumped down, and I don't know what to do. That's when you go, whoa, wait a second, I'm going to change my body language. So you get your shoulders up and rolled back, and you put your chin up, take some deep breaths, walk in there, put your hand out, give a nice firm handshake, smile with your mouth and your eyes, and say something like, it's very nice to meet you. You can do that no matter what situations you've been in. You can do that. And so what you've done, even though you went in there feeling maybe shy, ineffective, like, why am I doing this? You've changed it by your body language. What happens then? You start to feel better. You start to feel stronger. What did you do? What did you change? One thing, your body language. You know, I shared this before, but there was a study done once several years ago. It was a man who researchers in kinesiology wanted to know how our body language affects how people think of us. And so he adopted what they considered a lower class stance, where his chin was down, his head was down, he was slumped, and he was dressed nicely, but he walked along just feeling kind of not so confident. And people asked strangers their opinion of this man. Overall, they guessed him to be about, well, he was 5'10" and 143 pounds is what he actually was. But they guessed him to be about 5'9", 136, sheepish and ineffective. And so I would tell my group, how would you like to be considered sheepish and ineffective? And you hadn't said a word. It was all by the way he carried himself and how we do often. So then he adopted what they called an upper class stance, where he rolled his shoulders back, lifted them up, dropped them down a little bit, had his chin up, and walked very confidently back and forth. Then the researchers asked strangers, well, what's your opinion of this man? Overall, they guessed him to be 5'11", 160, masculine and aggressive. Mind you, the man was wearing the same clothing in both tests. Wow, what a difference. What happened? There was only one thing that changed, and that was how he carried himself. That was his nonverbal signals. And so always think about body language and the messages that it's giving off to other people. If you want people to be drawn to you, to want to talk to you, want to be your friend, want to believe you, think you're trustworthy, most of it's going to happen with your body language. Your eye contact, what are your eyes saying? What are your hands doing? There are so many things that will give off a particular message. So think about that. And when you change your body language and your attitude, you can totally change your life. You can change how people read you, how they perceive you, how they receive you, rather than have them push you away and think negative thoughts. So think about that with your facial expressions in your body. Another thing is how we picture ourselves so many times. And I'm going to use an example of a crayon to do that. So visualize you're sitting at a table, you're doing those new cool modern coloring books that are good for therapy, just to kind of get away and have some fun and you know, be creative. And so you're looking at this box of really nice crayons that's kind of scattered across the table, and one of them that you like a lot is broken. I mean, it's really broken. And so you may be looking at that going, okay, I'll pick something else. This one doesn't look so hot right now, which is how we feel a lot of times about ourselves. Do you know that broken crayons still color? Sometimes we feel like when we are so broken, we can't color, we're not good looking, we're not effective, we're kind of worthless. No, that's not true. Broken crayons still color. And what I wrote to that picture is, no matter the current difficulty, you still have the power to redesign, regroup, and make an awesome impact on your life and the life of those around you. So even in those times when you are that broken crayon, you still color beautifully, and you rebuild and you redesign and you go forward and you make yourself stronger than you were before. Some of you have, I'm sure, know a gentleman. He's a real estate agent. I won't use his name since I didn't get his permission, although I'm sure he'd be happy. And he said, Mom wrote things like, you know, to him, keep brightening up rooms, keep making people feel good, and keep making people laugh. How many of us grew up with a parent that told us to do those things? Wouldn't the world be a lot better place than it is right now with all the anger and things that is going on? Keep making people laugh. Hey, I think that's pretty awesome. His mother could have pointed out deficiencies that he needed to work on. How many times have we done that with a parent or a teacher or someone? Or not said anything encouraging in her cards to him. However, she chose to write something positive each time. We can make the same choice to turn any situation into a positive experience, like those ones I shared last time. Didn't have arms, didn't have legs. No arms, can drive a car, feed a baby. Wow, pretty awesome. It may not happen overnight, but our thoughts and words can dramatically affect and change our lives and those of those around us. So always remember that mom and what she said to her son. So speaking in an encouraging way and looking on the positive can change your life for the better. Again, I think about, as I shared last time, my trip to Haiti. And I was a new widow. I was covered in bug bites, even my eyelids. And it was a really tough time living there in the stench and the squalor on missions. But you know what? That was one of the best experiences I'd ever had in my life, because I got home and I was thanking God for a shower, for food, for a refrigerator, for a bed, for, toothbrush, a little bit of everything, because I knew how much I had to be grateful for. And so think about that too, and think about the positive things in life and how that can change. And so I want to encourage you to do that. And remember, your mindset is contagious. Do you know that? Because if I have a girlfriend that I'm getting kind of frustrated with, to be real honest, because she's flying back and forth, not literally flying, but she's flipping back and forth to people's homes, doesn't know what to do, doesn't like the job, doesn't like this, that. Well, I should be doing this. No, I think I'm supposed to be doing that. Well, I can't do this because of this and that and blah, 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 to the point where I'm kind of not wanting to answer the phone right now. And I do, because I need to encourage her. But so many times that mindset can be so contagious, and it can throw us into a spin when we hear someone or see someone doing things over and over and over again that aren't positive. And we don't want to push people away, and we can by negative body language, by constantly complaining and being angry. And so a lot of times it's like, whoa, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to encourage myself as well as them. It can change your life. It can bring in new friends. It can bring in the kind of business that you want in your business when you show yourself strong. I remember seeing a lady at the doctor's office come in with a guy, and the people in the office were just like all over them, just with excitement. And I thought, what product do they have? It was chocolates. It was just chocolates. But they were so professional and so confident. And I thought, wow, that's just from their attitude, their body language over chocolates. They had this office just so excited. And I remember once when I was on a plane, and it was a little 18-seater, scared me half to death. And it was just this little puddle jumper that was really noisy. And I watched the flight attendant on there. She only had about 18 people on the plane. And honestly, I have never seen anyone more dignified, more professional in my life than this lady. And I thought, wow, you're on this little noisy plane doing this. But she held her chin up and was the most confident woman in her job, in her position, because she knew that that's what was in her. And I'm sure it probably wasn't long after that she got promoted to more money and a bigger airline because of how she behaved. And she made everybody feel great, even though she was just on this little dinky plane. And so a lot of times, even if we're starting off in a position, sometimes I've talked to receptionists and people who are considered in a more lower position, and yet they're still leaders, they're still impression givers, and a lot of times these people can move up the ladder. I have a longtime friend I went to high school with, and when she started out at a very large advertising agency, she started out just doing basic bookkeeping and accounting, and then she went up from there, and she went up from there, because she held herself to a higher calling. And when I ran into her many years later, she was a vice president, having to do with going out and working with companies who were using their advertising and their TV and their radio and all that. And I was just floored, because she did not have one class of college, not one. And she moved up to being a vice president of a very, very large, well-known advertising agency by what was up here and by how hard she worked. And so always know that even though you may not have the education someone has, that doesn't mean you can't compete for a job that's really awesome. Because if you have the drive, the experience, you can do it. Studies have shown that a lot of times a person who has a better attitude, who has the drive, who has all of that really wants to get in there and work at a particular job, will be hired over someone who maybe has more education or even experience, because of what they're giving out, showing that, hey, I'm going for it. Not, well, yeah, I've got all this education and sure I can do it, kind of attitude. So always think about that. Your attitude is going to majorly impact where you go in life. So I would encourage you at least 10 minutes a day, think about visualizing what you want to do, what you want to be. And I know you're probably going, well, how can I do that? I don't have any money. I don't have the skills. I don't have this. I live in a little dinky apartment and drive an old car. Who's going to think that I'm someone that they want to bring into this prestigious sales position, for instance? No, it doesn't cost you a dime. All it maybe costs you is 5 or 10 minutes. Sit and visualize and see yourself actually in that position where you're making an impact. Just like those people selling chocolates, and they had people all over them for it. You can do that by shifting your mind, because when we do what we are expected to do. A lot of times if someone's expected to be a failure by a parent or a teacher, what happens? They end up being a failure because that's what has been expected of them. But if you expect yourself to be a success, you expect yourself to be someone who's strong, who's an overcomer, just like those people with no limbs, for instance, you'll become what you expect. And so again, when you get those thoughts in your mind, shift and change and know that you've got it. You've got it. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't cost a dime. Sure, you don't know how to do it right now. That's okay. You don't have to. It will start coming to you as you shift your mind and act the part of the person that you want to be in all sincerity. Okay? So it can happen. Rehearse it. You know, I've heard so many times a person who wins an Academy Award, or especially with athletes, like at the Olympics, things like that, they visualized winning, or pageant winner. They visualized walking across the stage accepting the award. They visualized and visualized and visualized and rehearsed and practiced until it became life. I hear that over and over again with people who win awards, win Olympics, all of that. Maybe you want to be a ballerina, maybe you want to be a social worker, maybe you want to be a football player. Okay, you need to visualize those things. Yes, there are certain things that because of physical limitations or whatever we can't do, but I'll share some more with you on people who had those limitations, but hey, that didn't stop them either. Okay, there's another picture I really love, and yes, it was photoshopped, but it shows a butterfly with a cord, and on the end of the cord is a really big, heavy rock, much bigger than the butterfly. And the butterfly is going up the stairs. And it says, remember when times are hardest, that's when our wings become strongest. Keep rising and believe. And so think about that against, you know, a little bee, bumblebee, these little teeny wings. And it does things that are impossible, basically. Same with an ant. Can lift things much bigger than they are. Why? Because that's all they know. That's what they think. I can do it. So they do it. So no matter what happens, it's a choice. Everything we do is a choice in life as far as what happens to us. Now, a lot of things happen to us that we didn't like, we didn't want, and that hurt. But it's still a choice where we go from there, what decisions we make to move forward and to move on with it. Failure is an opportunity to figure out what to do differently next time. That's all failure is. You think of Thomas Edison, who had, I guess it was like 1,000 tries before he actually was successful creating the light bulb. Do you think at 995 tries he thought, I give up, I can't do it, I've tried everything? No, he just basically said, okay, those are all things I know not to do, and so now it's pushing me forward to do the next step, the one that will actually become successful. So if he can try that with 1,000 tries, my golly, we can sure do the same thing and what we're going to do differently next time, and to know that we're going to continue to push forward. Staying positive isn't easy. You know, we can have to change our mind several times a day to try to stay positive. But even if you know you're going to go to work and you have a crabby boss, or you have somebody at home, or different situations where you've got somebody to deal with that's really tough, the best thing to do is to sit quietly when you're alone and visualize how you are going to handle that situation next time. And think, hey, you're not coming in here. You're not going to tell me things or be cantankerous to me, because I know better and I'm worth more than that. And you can just meet them with class. You can talk to them with strength, because you've rehearsed it in your mind till it's become reality, and you know that you're strong. You know, I remember, I think I might have shared this one other time about a lady named Marilyn Hickey, who is an international lady. She's in her 80s now. And she said one time she wondered, well, do I make a choice of whether I'm angry or not? And so she decided she was going to make that kind of an experiment. So she had a bad hair day like we do at times. And so she went to church because her husband pastored a very large church in Denver. And she said a friend of hers came up to her and she says, "Oh, Marilyn, what happened to your hair?" And she says, "Yeah, I know. It's just kind of one of those bad hair days." Well, then a moment later, a lady came up to her that was kind of a, bee in her bonnet, and she didn't really like the lady that well. She wanted to, but she was having trouble with that. And so the lady said, "Oh, Marilyn, your hair looks terrible." And she, which is an awful thing to say, but she got really angry at her. And she thought, "Well, how dare you?" And then she said, "You know what? I realized at that moment I chose not to be angry at my friend, and I chose to be angry at the other lady." And so it's a really good example of we choose whether we'll be angry or not, whether we'll be happy or not, whether we're going to go forward or stay stuck. So it is hard, but we can do it, and that's where practice begins. If people are gossiping, saying mean things about somebody or something, you can listen and don't get involved in it, and then as soon as you can, change the subject to something that's positive and uplifting, because people can literally change their minds or their attitude in a split second. They really can. So, be positive and try to be an example that they want to follow, and they want to gravitate to you because you make them feel good instead of not so good. So we can do that. You think about a kaleidoscope. My mom wrote a beautiful poem about a kaleidoscope. We all know what a kaleidoscope is. It's like a big tube, and at the end of it, there's like little shattered pieces of glass, all kinds of colors in there, just little broken up shattered pieces of glass. You think, wow, what a mess this is. Look at all these shattered pieces of glass. But as you turn the kaleidoscope, you go, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Turn it some more, new pattern. Oh my gosh, this is really gorgeous. And so our life is kind of like that too. We have broken pieces of glass so many times in our lives, we just feel like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm just shattered. And yet as we work on that, turn it, create new patterns, each one of those turns or each one of those things that we do or say or think is going to change the pattern into a whole beautiful new design. And so we can rebuild our lives by doing that. Think of that kaleidoscope, making a brand new picture with the broken pieces. We can do that and create new ones. And wow, is that exciting when you see a new picture develop, whether it's a new person, a new partner, a new job, a new home, a new city, a new car, whatever the case may be, because we kept turning it, we kept working on it, and we didn't let it let us down. Sometimes we have to tear out seams in our lives from patterns that have been in our lives and patterns that no longer fit you, whether it's a person, place, or thing. And so we have to do that sometimes. It may not be easy. We don't want to let go of what's familiar, even though maybe it's not really helping us any. May have to replace a torn sleeve, which again could be a person, a place, or a thing that has to go, so we can replace it with something better and delightful. And I think of that story about an eagle that somehow ended up in a barnyard of chickens. And so the eagle looks up one day, it's gone, oh my gosh, look at all those eagles up there. I wish I could fly. It could. It just had grown up in that situation where it was bound with a bunch of chickens and didn't know that all it had to do is take a good run and soar up into the sky and fly. And so remember, you're the eagle, you're not the chicken. And so think about that. I love the picture too. It shows a little bird sitting on the outside of the door of a bird cage. It's perched up above the door of the bird cage, and the cage is open, and it says, and the day came when she finally, or he, broke free from the cage that had been created in her mind. Then she spread her wings and flew free. And that's what we need to do. I've had to do that over and over again, spread those wings and become free. And I think of in the bad storms, we've all seen pictures of horrible storms where great big trees that have been, around for a couple hundred years are literally uprooted and crashed down, and the roots are like all over the place. But you're a palm tree. You see palm trees in a hurricane and they're going to go like that. But when the wind stops, they come back up again because they're strong and they're resilient, and so are you. So remember, you're the palm tree in all that. And just think about letting go of negatives, because they will also affect your life. They will affect your health. And so think about those. What do you want to change? Relationships, finances, career. Who do you need to go to? Who do you need for support? You can find support, pray for it, ask for it. God will literally send you new friends. He can send you new family. I have family that is so much closer as a friend than my real family. And I had to do that because I didn't have family around. But again, that can happen. Pray for friends that are like family, and you will get those. God will provide you with those. And be careful with self-sabotage. That's also very important. Staying in healthy relationships, critical. Being a workaholic, sometimes people are workaholics because they want to escape what's going on at home, for instance. No, we need to work on that too and be a family unit. Or feeling inadequate, not anymore. You think about jujitsu as martial arts, we'll think about brain jitsu and completely redo your brain. So just in closing here, one thing I want to tell you about hanging on to that dream no matter what. A California man who missed his 1942 graduation of high school because he was locked in an internment camp during World War II. His dream was finally fulfilled because the LA Times reported that 89-year-old Don Miata walked across the stage with his class of 2014 at Newport Harbor High School 72 years later because he was denied his cap and gown when he truly should have graduated. What happened? He never let go of his dream, and it came to pass. So think about that. He hit the reset button. He was not going to let defeat or delay take away his dream. So I would encourage you, never let defeat or delay take away your dream either. Keep going for it. Keep fighting for it. You're God's strong child. Look up people that have had such a terrible time in life. You and God are a majority. Majority wins. Never forget that. Holding on to that promise will keep you strong and steady so you can run the race that you were called to run. Have an awesome week. We'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.